Oh, man. We're doing this thing again, are we? Let's roll. Episode 15 of The Center Ring TCR. Coming at you live, pre-recorded from an undisclosed location. The time is, 9:30-ish on January 12th, 2016. Thank you for joining us today. To all our old listeners, all three of you. And all our new listeners, the other three of you. My name is Tim. I'll be one of your pilots for this evening. The co-captain, his name is Brandon. Brandon, how are you doing today?
Pretty good. I was sitting here just thinking to myself, like 15 weeks. When we got to like 10, I was like, wow, that was a lot. And now I'm at like 15 and I'm back to like, it's a few. Not a whole lot.
Yeah, there's that special middle ground where you think, okay, like, wow, we did 2 months worth of episodes. That's really good. And now you're like, man, we're at that middle ground of, if we quit now, we had a good run, but not long enough to really gain traction.
Right.
Like, at first, I was happy with the traffic that we were getting, and now I'm like, man, after 15, I feel like maybe start investing more time in bothering people to listen to us. But we do have a pretty good show for you tonight, I would hope. Again, though, I'd like to stress this at the start of the episode. We are on YouTube. So if you are a frequent goer to our podcast, even if you don't ever listen to it on YouTube, we'd appreciate the subscription, possibly the like, maybe a comment just to say hello. Let us know that that someone goes to that thing.
How dirty do you feel in this particular moment?
Look, I hate whoring myself out, let alone to YouTube, which is my life struggle is YouTube. I really don't like it, but hey. It's what the kids are into these days.
Yep.
So episode 15 of The Center Ring. You can always follow us. Follow the discussion on Twitter at The Center Ring. Let us know what you think. But today we have, of course, the micro. We have lots for the micros because, again, a lot of little things we just don't have the time to discuss. Valve came down the line with the news of banning players for life. And they made it for good this time. I was talking to you in the pre-show meeting that, like, I feel like this was announced like months ago. But man, just so much happens in esports in a week to where you just forget that, like, no, that did just happen after we did the last episode.
Was it after we did the last episode?
Yes. It was after. I think it was the day when we posted it, which is always awkward because we record so late at night. But yes, it was. So much happens. Seems so long ago.
Like I was actually just sitting there thinking, like, man, it's been a slow couple of weeks, but I guess not. Like, my perception's off. Anyway.
Yep. So, but other big news that just came down yesterday?
Yeah. Yesterday, because all the new videos about it came out today, and they needed some time to
think it over, listen to what everybody else said.
And then record it.
They're
in
all
a different
suckers.
language.
They don't wait till 9 o'clock at night. We get to mooch off of everyone's opinions. And that is, of course, the news that Cloud9 CSGO has filled in their 5th spot. And no, it was not me. Despite all my audition tapes, all my shout-out calling, in-game leader interviews, they didn't pick me. They decided to go with Stewie2K, who oddly enough has less experience playing the game than me, but still made the team. So Stewie2K ended up joining Cloud9 as their 5th, replacing Sean Garris, who left the team back in November. Unexpectedly to the public, but I guess the team knew pretty ahead of time that Sean was leaving a void for in-game leading. I know he was working with nothing on it, but again, you look at Cloud9, and I feel like even with Stewie2K, that's something that is going to be lacking from there. But before we get into the demographics of what I feel like that, let's kind of go into Stewie2K for those who probably already heard a million other videos about it. So what do you have on him?
So Stewie2K has been playing Counter-Strike for a year and a half. started with CS:GO. His own admission, the only time he played 1.6 was to play Surf. So this guy has been playing the game less time than I would probably say like 80% of the people that follow competitive Counter-Strike.
Maybe that works best for him, right? They always say like if you don't have to relearn something and just learn it the first time, maybe it works.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah,
So
that's a good point.
He never had that learning curve, but maybe it worked out.
Young player,
clearly it worked out.
Right, young player. He's actually at this point most famous for oversleeping and leaving his last team with 4 players for a qualifier game.
Yeah, so basically, he's 18 now, 17 at this incident that Brandon just brought up. So Stewie2K was formerly on Splice, who was formerly Esports, Follow Esports rather. He ended up, they were at a tournament at a LAN, and he ended up not waking up from his alarm. He ended up oversleeping, missing the match, and his team opted to play with 4 guys. Which at that same tournament, that's why you saw Summit sub 4 Splice, because they needed a 5th. So they asked Summit to do it and everything there. So it was a crazy thing. Teammates were tweeting about it, kind of throwing Stewie2K under the bus. If you can throw somebody under the bus when they're the ones who screw up.
He fell asleep under the bus.
Yeah. So he fell asleep, missed the match, and his team, to say the least, was not happy about it. The organization wasn't happy about it, to the point where he was relieved of his duties as a member of the organization. Whether or not you want to say that he left.
Yeah, there was already kind of rumblings that he was done with them, and like that kind of made it all that much worse, I think. But
look, whoever, the girl always says that they wanted the breakup all along, right?
Yeah,
I mean, the breakup, he always says that no, this is fine. This is what I wanted.
It's like when Richard Lewis said he was never going to work another DreamHack event.
Yeah, well, this just works out conveniently. I wanted to get fired, so joke's on you guys.
So even beyond that, Stewie2K has been known as a pug star. He performs pretty well in the FPL. That's he's got a following on Twitch, and I mean that's the background on Stewie2K. He's had one LAN tournament of meaningfulness, and it was the RGN Pro Series, right? Not the RNG, yes. RGN Pro Series game, where they on team Follow Esports at the time, I believe it was, got absolutely rolled over. Like, he did not play good.
Right, and I know that's where everyone likes to bring up that he's some crazy online player, but on LAN he really didn't have that. But again, there's not a example, or there's not a good enough example size to me on either side to make a claim whether or not he is a good player. Obviously, he has the skills to play with them, because that's what FPL is. He's playing with other pros and top tier guys for NA scene. But when I heard the news that Cloud9 signed him, I was kind of underwhelmed, you know? I was kind of, you had guys like still out there. I know Fugly played with him. I don't really know why that didn't work out. You had, who I feel like Fugly is better than Stewie2K. You have Pimp, who's still out there. Former Dignitas rifler, or Opper former rifler. But he's crazy with a rifle. So if he went to another team, that's where it'd be Dignitas made him an Opper, and that's why he
didn't
left.
Work out, yeah,
that's why he left Dignitas. Long story short, I'm surprised they didn't go for Pimp, or maybe there was closed doors discussion on there. You don't know.
I mean, I even go back to, and it may have been, a lot of speculation, and Get Right may not have wanted to do it because Sean Garris wasn't playing. But I mean, if you're in the talks for a player like Get Right, and then you end up with a player like Stewie, it's hard to be, it's very easy to be underwhelmed with what happened.
And I guess that's what I felt like. I mean, Cloud9 is one of the household names for an NA organization. And I guess they wanted to, they got a top NA prospect, which is what Stewie2K is. He's a top prospect at this point. People don't really know where to think of him on. I know I listened to Thorin's little podcast vlog that he does, Thorin's Thoughts, and he was saying how, it's a high risk but low, medium reward on this one. And I don't think you can really go off of that right now to say any type of reward. Obviously, there's a high risk there. There's going to be a high risk with any roster pickup because you just don't know how that chemistry is going to mesh. But I don't think there's a big enough example size of, what's his potential. He's 18 years old. He doesn't really have a lot of LAN experience. He's going to have to practice there. But, Cloud9's CEO mentioned that he was going to have a gaming house. The statement from Cloud9 said that they were going to give him everything that they can as far as helping him out, molding him. So I think that they're hoping that they hit the jackpot.
They are. So if you take a couple different, like you said earlier, we get to mooch off of everyone's opinion. So if you look at Thorin and Thorin's videos talking about his play style and how Stewie 2K plays a very aggressive kind of, run in there, get some kills, aim duels style, right? And then you listen to Moses talk about transitioning from the Premier League to the Pro Leagues, which Stewie 2K was only a Premier League player. Like, he hasn't played, the ESEA Pro Leagues and stuff like that to kind of transition. And Moses is talking about they need to, like, anchor him in a site on, CT. He needs to play, very subtle positioning, like not taking aim duels. So not only are you taking a new player and putting him on a team and hoping for good chemistry, as well as hoping someone like Nothing can take over the in-game leading aspect and not suffer from it. But now you're going to start telling people to play out of their comfort zones in another position. And I think that's where Thorin is talking about medium reward, because like even if they do transition and are able to do it, you're still only looking at a small uptick in performance versus if they were all playing in a more comfortable role for themselves.
There definitely is going to be a learning curve on both sides of it for the remaining 4 of the team and then for Stewie 2K to see how this is going to work. I don't think Cloud9 got this thinking it's going to be a quick turnaround.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You said it yourself. He went from the Premier League. Now he's going into the Invite League, or whatever they want to call it, the Pro League, if you will. And I think there is going to be a learning curve. But, you can't have it both ways, where people are always saying that NA doesn't have this crazy talent pool and, where is the NA talent and blah, blah, blah. And finally a team goes and tries to dip into that NA talent, where I get it that some people might not think he's that great, but as far as, the rumorville is saying that they're saying that he is a top prospect. So as far as that goes, we have now people complaining that they're giving him a chance, which eventually you have to have it. Now, is it weird that Cloud9 is the ones who decided to give him this chance? Yes, it's very weird to me that someone on the scale of Cloud9 would pick someone with such a little experience over even other pros that had it. But maybe that's what they're going for. Maybe they want that person so that they can mold into the player that they want, rather than taking someone like Pimp, who was very clearly a rifler that was made opper and it didn't work out for him as well.
Right.
So maybe that they're hoping with this Stewie 2K edition that they can maybe mold him to be a more effective entry fragger. To me, there's nothing wrong with playing the rush, but you just have to do it effectively. Whether that be against NA teams or European teams or whoever, you just have to do it effectively, right? There's nothing wrong with being the first man in.
Maybe this is them working on replacing Freakazoid finally.
You think it's just a part of a bigger plan?
Yeah, no. So speaking about prospects and development, what's your idea? So I'm thinking like the average Counter-Strike player retires at what, like 23, 24?
I mean, yeah, that's
so if you're looking at if you're looking at 23, 24 years old, he's got 5 years to become a pro player, reach the peak, and then decline into retirement. Right? So like what's your idea of a time frame for prospect development, if you will?
Well, I would say
6 months. I mean, a year.
I mean,
a
so
season.
esports, Counter-Strike especially, has such a quick trigger finger on kicking guys off that
Right.
this isn't working, we need to go to plan B.
Right.
But in this case, you can't do that. You can't, when you openly admit in your statement saying that he's aware he has work and we're aware that we have work and we really don't have an in-game leader and that's what we're working on. We need to basically, even though they just replaced one guy, they're really going to have to look at all 5 as a whole. So I'm not looking at this as a timetable for Stewie 2K to fit into Cloud9. I'm looking at this more as a timetable for Cloud9 to figure out their team dynamic. And I would say comfortably, around, I'd say 6 months. Give it half a year. That's plenty of tournaments. That's plenty. I mean, you would have the MLG Major there. You have plenty of tournaments in between now and then. LAN tournaments, which is the big key there, because they need him to adapt to that different LAN feel with not any form of lag or anything there. So I'd say 6 months is probably a reasonable expectation of how are we going to work this out. And that's also pending on who they get for a coach. I think that's going to play a big part.
Or if they get a coach at all, are they talking for sure they're going to have one? Or?
Well, the statement is that they're looking for a coach.
Okay.
That will help form the dynamic. Logic says get Sean Garris, right?
Well, yeah, but
I don't know if he wants to do it.
Yeah, if they're looking for a coach, it sounds like there's
I'd assume he was going to be their first
already.
phone call.
Yeah.
But maybe he doesn't want to do it. Maybe he wants to still take some time off because as a coach, you honestly have to put in the same, if not more, attention to the team. Which is why Sean left.
Let's hope he continues to do his wonderful casting with that.
Oh, that laugh.
That just straight. It's musical.
I wish I had the audio. I need to pull.
That should be our first drop.
Is unlike anything else. Him and Pansy, man, they make an awesome team. So I mean, is that what you would say then? 6 months for?
Yeah, that's actually.
And again, I'm not just looking at Stewie 2K on this. You have to look at the entire team.
I mean, unless the results are just so awful, like I would say the first 3 months, no holds barred. What happens. People are learning. I think after that, especially with
unless there's team drama, which
right, that's what
from what
like,
I hear. I mean, obviously you never met the guy. From what I hear, Stewie 2K kind of has a big ego. What 18-year-old doesn't, especially if that 18-year-old is going to make a pro scene after a year and a half of playing the game?
Yeah, he's going to have an ego.
That could butt some heads, right? Could you imagine? I mean, there are some guys around our age playing Counter-Strike. Could you imagine having an 18-year-old on your team?
I hate it. Yeah, I would. If I were to play games with my 18-year-old self now, I would have been like, who is this little shithead? Like, why am I playing?
I agree.
Yeah.
So,
but people are saying Freakazoid can kind of help with that. I mean, all the pundits say he's an emotional leader for the team. I don't really know how far that goes, but
whatever that means.
Yeah, that.
So I think that will be exciting to see. Again, I wish they would have, and maybe they did. Maybe I'm just talking out of my ass here, but I feel like I wish NA teams went to European talent pools more. I mean, look at Liquid. They picked up Simple. So it's possible. It's possible to get a European to play over here. Why Get Right didn't work out with Cloud9? Why Alu didn't work out with Cloud9? The world will never know. But man, to go
I thought Alu was going to be the one they went after, and
go from that talent pool to prospect of Stewie 2K. Again, I mean, the sky's the limit.
Let's just hope his game isn't as flat as his hair.
Yeah, that picture, man. I don't know if there was some cropping going on or what, but good lord. But there were also some players that Cloud9 could not pick from. And that would be the handful of players that Valve decided to drop the ban hammer officially this week on. Of course, we are talking about the players caught up in the ex-iBUYPOWER scandal. Plenty of other teams and plenty of other players involved with this. But some of the big names that were completely banned for life. These guys were given a year suspension, which from what I understand, is very little communication
time
in
out.
between.
There's a big misconception. They were given a year suspension from ESEA, all ESEA. Their ban from Valve-sponsored events and majors was indefinite. So there's a lot of confusion around that because it's two different things, but people link them together. So a lot of them were like, a year's been up. What's going on? What's going on? What's going on?
Okay, so Valve
was indefinite.
So that's why Valve came and said we had to clarify.
Yes.
I was wondering why they used the word clarify.
Yep.
That makes sense.
Everybody was linking them together, and now ESEA has unbanned them from Pugs, I believe. ESEA Pugs, but still no tournaments.
Still no tournaments or anything like that. Okay, so Valve came out and clarified that no, the indefinite suspension is now definite. Lifetime ban with no chance of parole. Completely dropped the ban hammer on players like, Dazed, Swag, AZK, Steel, who's been very outspoken on this all, FXYO, who made a very big statement that we'll get into here. Of course, they were banned for fixing matches and everything there to get skins off of betting sites like CSGO Lounge and things like that. Everybody has their opinions on this. Definitely seems like it's split down the middle, where it's either you agree with Valve and they can get effed, or you agree with the players and Valve can get effed. There's really no...
Yeah, it's a pretty black or white issue.
Right, it's a black or white issue. Should they be allowed to play or shouldn't they? So, I guess, how do you want to do this? Do you want to get into our opinions on this and then listen to audio? Do you want to listen to audio?
Why don't we get our opinions first? Just flat one line, unbanned or not, and then we'll do the audio and break it down.
Okay. You go first.
I think they should stay banned.
Okay. So here's this. I have a big heart. I'm a softie. I feel like it totally sucks that they're banned for life. And I feel for them. That being said, you fixed matches. And it's really hard for me to just turn the other cheek and be like, oh, but it was only one time, so it's okay. No, it was only one time because you got caught. That's me. So I go from softy to where it's like ruthless. And I'm on the fence. I'm really torn on it because at one time you want to hug them. And then you hear some of the things they say and you're like, ah,
let's
you're
hear
just stupid.
Let's hear some of the things they say.
I've Steel on his stream. So this is while he's playing. So you'll hear some noises in the background. And that's what that is. He basically spent 7 minutes discussing his opinion on it. I guess his chat was asking him what's going on and everything like that. So I broke it down here. So we have a couple different segments and we'll butt in between. So here's the first segment where Steel is basically going over how Valve is not going to listen.
Valve's not going to listen to me because I'm that fucking scum who did wrong by the community, and there's nothing I can do to fix that. I would do community service. I would fucking do work for charities. I would donate to charities. I would give up all my prize fucking winnings to charities. I would do all that shit so I could go through a rehabilitation. I fucked up. I did bad. I'm willing to do fucking good, but I don't have that opportunity. So Valve's not gonna they're not gonna listen to me. They don't give a fuck about me. They're done with me. That's it. It's the end. I did wrong. It was brought to their attention that I did wrong. They said, we're not dealing with this. Fuck him for life. Done. There's nothing I can do. I have this negative stigma attached to me for the rest of my life. There's no good I can do that will fix it. So they're not gonna fucking listen to me in my rant. There's no sense giving it to them. Do I think there's zero possibility? Oh yeah, they're not gonna unban me. Valve's not gonna do shit. It's up to everyone else. It's up to every other individual tournament organizer to decide what they want to do.
And he goes on to kind of branch off of that, but I felt like too much audio is too much. So he kind of went on to branch off of saying how the tournament organizers basically listen to Valve and they cave into Valve. If Valve says he's not playing, DreamHack is like, okay.
Well, yeah,
he's not playing.
Like money comes from Valve.
And this is what and that's one thing that people argue with, saying, "Oh, how can they bend the knee to Valve? Like, why are you bending the knee?" Because without Valve, there would be no DreamHack for the tournament.
Yeah.
as far as Counter-Strike goes. So that's one thing. And also, you got to think.
I mean, it's the game. Like, you can't tell the developer of the game you play to shove it. We're going to do what we want to do, because the game developer can just be like, all right, you can't use our game anymore.
This isn't like the NFL, where if Wilson, the company who makes the actual football itself, told the NFL, hey, so we were thinking about it, and Tom Brady deflated our product. So we think that you guys should really keep him suspended for 4 games and maybe even suspend him for the season for breaking the rules. That's not how it works in this situation. Just like in that, I mean, the game does not depend on the Wilson brand football. Yes, they've been there forever, but I'm sure they could easily go find another brand of football, and Wilson probably realizes that they need football more than football needs football.
Yeah, then football needs Wilson. Yeah.
Right. This is not that situation. The organizers, or the organizations rather, I feel need Valve a little bit more than the other way around. Counter-Strike was way popular before tournaments and esports came. Does it help? Sure, yeah, it helps, of course. But they were suspended and banned indefinitely for a year from their respective parties, and Counter-Strike is still around. DreamHack is still around.
So I want to talk a little bit about what he's talking about doing community service and stuff like that, and he wants to do good. And the thing about those statements, and I have read that Steele specifically, like, I guess is really like emotionally torn up for the decision he made, and like he's really upset, and he feels like he's hurt his reputation as a person.
And
a
when
lot.
you hear from both of them, because I have FXO statements too, and this is where they tug on my heartstrings, where I do feel terrible for them.
Yeah, it's like he made a bad decision, like a terrible decision. He's getting the ramification. Now he feels like super awful about it, and that he's ruined his reputation as a person, not just a player, but as a person, right?
And these guys are young. I think they're early 20s.
Yeah, and the thing that bothers me about it, and I've heard this before, is like after this statement came out, he has decided to give all of the profits, which is, everything he earns minus the cost of whatever it is, to do his streams and FPL and all that other stuff, operating cost. He's going to be donating it to charity. He announced that shortly after that video hit big on Reddit. And the thing that bothers me is, like, if you were really so willing to do good or give back to the community or whatever,
why were you okay?
Why did you wait until after, it was recorded to start doing it? Like, that just shows, or that kind of tells me that he was willing to do it if it got him unbanned, but if it doesn't get him unbanned,
I'm going to keep the money.
I'm just going to keep operating. And this guy's a professional gamer. Don't let this ban fool you. He makes tons of money off of streaming.
They probably make more money off of streaming than they ever would of Counter-Strike.
He makes money off of FPL, which is it's Pug Professional Counter-Strike. He makes money off of consulting or whatever for different esports organizations. Like, this guy is a professional gamer. He's just not competing in the tournaments.
So again, I do feel terrible for him. You hear it in his voice that he's frustrated at himself. And then it also kind of gets redirected towards Valve, which, can you blame any of them? I mean, Valve is what's banning them. It's not DreamHack. It's not these organizations, well, other than ESEA, but their hands are tied, like we said. So he goes on to saying, after kind of tapping on that topic there, he goes on to saying that even with the public outcry, he is still finding issues that. So here's this.
I got something sad to say. You're not going to have 90% of the community support an unbanning of us. It's not going to happen. Not going to fucking happen. So you're going to think to yourself, yeah, there's a chance. The community can pressure it. Not a fucking chance. Community split. It's going to be 50-50. It's going to be 50% are going to say, you know what, they fucked up, they did the time, unban them, there were no rules in place, there was no regulation of CSGO lounge, there still isn't any regulation, there's no contracts with there was no contracts with Valve, there's no contract saying they cannot do this, online fucking BO1 matches that are meaningless shouldn't be in the system. Without people addressing all of these individual issues and just saying these guys match fixed, we're fucked.
And so there, it definitely sounds like he's one-sided, but he does continue. So let's play this little piece of audio first, because this is where he goes into, but then there's always the other side of the table that says, we did do wrong.
But then there's the other side is, match fixing is the worst thing that you can do, and it's morally wrong. They knew it was morally wrong, so why do they deserve a second chance? You're going to have it split right down 50-50, and guess what? 50-50 is not good enough. It's not good enough. And you know what? What we did is fucked up. What we did, we knew it was wrong. I didn't understand how fucking bad it was. I knew it was bad, it was the wrong thing to do. I know how bad it was at the time until like after when everyone's fucking up in arms about it. Call it immature, call it whatever you want. It was fucking dumb of us to do, and we regret it, but there's not enough of support in our favor to make anything happen. And that's just like 80% of the community, 90% of the community. Not gonna fucking happen.
So there he kind of gives his perspective on both sides of the argument, right? He kind of dabs on a little bit of saying, hey, look, we should let them be unbanned. It was a little thing. They only got I think it was like $100 worth or €100, whatever currency. They didn't make a whole lot of money off of this fixed match because they did get busted so fast afterwards. I mean, you cannot have that amount of people fixing a match and it not get out. And then he also jumps over and says, but at the same time, we're kind of pieces of shit for doing it. And hey, we can take a punishment and everything there. And he kind of says it's going to be split 50-50. You say they should be banned still. And I'm on that side where myself, I'm split 50-50. They took a year off. Just a lifetime is a long time. But at the same time, and this is something even FXYO says in his statement too, that it's kind of hard for me to wrap my head around on this excuse. But the fact that, and Steele mentioned it here, where it wasn't even a rule at the time, and they're getting punished for something that wasn't a rule. But you should know match fixing is like going to be against the rules, dude. Like you can't sit there and be like, were they all just sitting in a chat room saying, hey, look, guys, I looked at the rules and there's no rule saying that we can't fix matches. So let's do it. Am I making sense here? Like you can be punished if there's no law if you do something extremely stupid. It's not like you get a get out of jail free card. It's like before there was murder and someone killed someone, I'd have to imagine there was still repercussion after that first murder. Just because they could say like, well, there was no law against it. Like, I feel like that's something someone would tell, like, a cop or a parent or something, saying, like, well, you didn't say I couldn't do it.
It's the thing is like, even if there's no rule against it, and Steele says this in that audio clip, even if there's no rule against it, you still know it's morally wrong. It's not the right thing to do. Just because you didn't know how severe the punishment was going to be, doesn't mean you should get away with it. Then you bring into question, if a year was long enough to,
was it rightful punishment?
Yeah, or is indefinite
for a crime that technically wasn't a crime at the time. And so to me, it makes no difference if they got $100 or $1 million. The fact is they still, the punishment is match fixing, or that's the crime. It was not the fact that they got money from it. It was the fact that you fixed a match. That's the way I see it.
Right. And
you hurt the integrity of the game, of the league.
That's what it is. Because it's not even about, like you said, it's not about what skins or money were exchanged. It's about the fact that if this goes unpunished, if that match fix that was so easily exposed goes unpunished, then you will no longer have any idea of what matches are legit and what matches were thrown.
And furthermore, if they weren't caught, who's to say that he feels so morally wrong about it?
Right, like if he wasn't caught, if a year later he would come out and be like, guys, there was this game.
And I know that's
back in the day.
That's like the go-to saying of the only reason people apologize is because they got caught.
Right.
But I feel like there's a point here to where the only reason you feel this bad about it is because you got punished so hard for it. Was it dirty the way Valve said indefinitely and then a year later said, okay, we thought about it and you're all getting banned for life? Yes. Valve did them dirty, in my opinion, especially when all of them say Valve never has contacted them once about it. Like, I feel like in that sense, that's where there needs to be some form of communication between the leagues and Valve.
Well, the thing
to have a governing body there, because
my understanding is that Valve was pretty clear at the beginning that like this was a for sure indefinite thing. Like indefinite as in your ban will never end. I mean if you were to come up to and say like if so you say you're going to a store or whatever and the store owner goes, you need to get out and never come back indefinitely. You don't show up a year later like, hey, can I come back in now? Or
like, we only got your opinion. What about this guy's?
Yeah.
Well, let's get this other guy's opinions. I do think it's dirty that if there was no communication, though. Like, I feel like if you are going to take the step of banning someone for life, if that's the punishment you see fit, who are we to say that that's not, fair? I mean, it's match fixing. It is what it is. But to not have any communication between the players, I feel like that's a disconnect of community there, which is not something that you need. And especially when you also have these organizations on your side, I mean, you need to help everybody out. You need to help the organizations out by being a little bit more open there. One other player, too, that was caught in all this but never punished for it was Skadoodle on Cloud9. He was...
do you have specifics of, like, his situation inside of it? Because I've read a little bit about it, but I've no idea. 90% of the stuff you read about this is just completely like wasted with people's opinions. Like, yeah, it's hard to get facts out of it.
Right. So and even so, I have audio here of Steel talking about Ska. Basically, he was in on, well, when you're so close to Cloud9, like me.
Sorry, that was good. All right.
It's Ska.
Yeah.
He calls me T. Like, sup, Ska. So, anyways, he was talking about Skadoodle's situation in it. Basically, Skadoodle was part of the match fixing, but never accepted the skins he won from it. Therefore, Valve, they had nothing on him. He was in the match, but they could never prove that he was part of reaping the rewards from it. Which also brings in light of, okay, so are you punishing him for match fixing or are you punishing him for personal gain? To me, the issue is I don't care if you got anything out of it. The fact is,
was he a part of the fixing?
Yeah, well, and that's... So here, I'll let Steel kind of have his 30 seconds of explaining, and then we'll go from there.
As far as I'm aware, they didn't have the skins to give Ska initially, and when they finally got them, and this is after the news story broke, he's just like, nah. So there's no transfer, Valve couldn't track it, and he got out scot-free. But I'm not sure. Like, I don't know specifically what happened with the whole Skadoodle thing. That's what I heard from AZK. That's what I heard. Because all of us were a part of it. All of us agreed to it, and all of us fucking contributed to it, and that's it.
So, again...
So the first 10 seconds of it, I'm like, well, maybe this is still hearing it from AZK and Skadoodle, like, retroactively saying he wasn't a part of it. And since there was no exchange of skins or anything, Skadoodle had... plausible deniability.
Yeah, he could have easily told fingerprints were not.
Yeah, he could have easily told Val like, "No, I wasn't there." Yeah, because exactly there was no way to directly link him to it.
The glove didn't fit.
Right.
So, again, are we looking at what is Valve punishing? Are they punishing the reward? Are they punishing personal gain, or are they punishing the integrity of match fixing?
Well, that's what I mean. Like if the only way to show that you fixed the match was to show that you gained something from it, right? So Skadoodle basically said, no, I didn't throw that match. and he didn't have anything showing that he received benefit from it, could you, without a shadow of a doubt, say...
And maybe that was Valve's thing, is like, look, we know 100% you guys fixed because you have the skins to show it.
Yeah. Skadoodle.
We don't know, and therefore we're going to let him go, and we all know the story from there. So it's really a tough decision. I'm glad I'm not the one who had to think about it. Real quick to kind of go over FXYO's, though, his statement on hltv.org. So he made a very long post basically saying his piece about it. Very similar to what Steele had to say. A lot about how Valve never spoke to them. Valve will never listen. They bend the knee to, or organizations bend the knee to Valve. But just a few things that really kind of irked me while reading this, and this is why I wanted to discuss this today. So, and this is what tips me over the fence of saying, no, you guys are banned. I don't care. You can say we're immature cards. You can play the young and stupid cards. But if Steele is willing to admit that they all knew it was morally wrong to do this, then I feel very low mercy, especially when you come at with some of the points like FXO did. Again, still feel terrible about the lifetime ban. That sucks, bro. But hey, don't do the crime if you can't pay the time. So here's some shit that he said. He says, I would like to be clear from the start. I do not... some little broken English. I'm assuming he meant, I do not contest what I have done, but don't judge me for, how do you say this? But I am judged in the same for 100 euro earned compared to 100,000. Again, I don't feel like the number matters.
Yeah, it's not even about the number.
It has nothing to do, if you're looking at that as like, oh, well, it wasn't that big a deal. I mean, it's not. It has nothing to do with that. He goes on to say how a famous French handballer faced a 3-year probation when they found out that he put a bet on a match that he was on. And saying how, so this professional handballer got a 3-year suspension and I got a lifetime ban. Again, and don't act like he's comparing a lot of apples to oranges with his comparisons. So if he's going to bring up one case where a guy didn't get a lifetime ban, there have been plenty of professional athletes who have gotten lifetime banned from their sport. Okay? This is a famous French handballer. I don't know who it is. Karabatic. Nonetheless, let's look. I have some examples here of just famous athletes, and I knew these off the top of my head. You had Dexter Manley, who has won 2 Super Bowl champions. Okay? He has 2 Super Bowl championships under his belt, was banned for life for failing drug tests multiple times. In football, you're basically allowed 3 strikes and you're out. Lifetime ban. Ben Johnson, famous Canadian sprinter for the Olympics, was known as the fastest man alive at one point. Got busted for doing steroids, banned from the game for life, all golden medals revoked. That was the fastest man alive, and they gave him a lifetime ban. Lance Armstrong, we all know who that is. Top cyclists, Tour de France, all these records, got caught for doping again. Lifetime ban from the sport. All his records wiped clean from the books. And then, of course, probably the most famous one is Pete Rose, who is banned for life from baseball and the Hall of Fame. So he cannot be inducted into the Hall of Fame. He cannot be anything to do with baseball, really, at this point, as far as official league business goes. Banned for life. And he is the all-time hits leader in the sport. And he got banned for, if we're looking at all these have been like kind of doping, he got banned because as a manager, he placed a bet on the games he was in.
Every time the betting stuff comes up, I always think of the NBA situation. About 7 years ago, Tim Donaghy, who was a referee in the NBA, placed bets on games that he reffed, and not only was he banned from the NBA, he served 15 months in federal prison and then had 3 years of supervised release. And I think this is really what Valve is trying to nix. Like, even if Valve publicly states that there's no value to the skins and stuff that's being traded, if you allow match fixing to happen and there is real life value to these skins, which there's no doubt there's real life value to these skins. So not only are you like hurting the integrity of the game, you're also opening up the entire community to fraud lawsuits, federal investigations on the in-game economy, just the little stuff like that can lead to something big like that.
My point is too with this, with all those comparisons with the professional athletes and these players here, if baseball is willing to give a lifetime ban to their number one all-time hits leader, what makes you believe that you are above any sort of lifetime ban for match fixing? What makes them think that this should be, it wasn't even a thing. It wasn't a rule at any time, and we didn't know, and no one got hurt, and I didn't murder anyone and everything there. That's not the point. The point is okay, well, let's compare, this crime comparing to this crime and see if they add up. That's not how it works. It's the integrity of it all. He goes on to write, saying that we all hope esports will grow. So yes, such behavior is intolerable, but Valve cannot be the judge and the jury. That's one thing I agree with. I don't know how you're going to combat that when, again, it's their game. How are you going to tell...
Like community poll or something? We should have a jury. Let's get the FPL council to weigh in on it.
Let's get Richard Lewis. Let's get Thorin. They'll be there. So, again, I get that point. I get that Valve cannot be the only person, but at the same time, when they have the water, they control who gets the water. He goes on some pretty slippery slopes here. Does a murder lead to the same penalty as self-defense? Death is the same in both cases, but everything depends on the situation. This has nothing to do... did he just compare murder and self-defense to match fixing?
Well...
I think I understand the point. I think the point he was trying to make there is...
Well, the unique position of FXYO is not only did he participate in match fixing, but he was also the one that blew the whistle on his team that was fixing. He made the post and admitted to it and kind of threw everybody into it. And
there was even I left this part of Steele's audio off, but he did come out there and said, what did people want us to say? Did you want us to just be like, oh, someone said in Twitch chat that we were match fixing and, oh, you caught us and blah, blah, blah. And I agree with that. You're never going to...
Right.
If someone calls you out, you're not going to be like, yeah, you're right. I did it. But at the same time, I don't think you need to look at this for what it is. It was match fixing. They got some gains from it. But Valve definitely came in knowing they wanted to set an example. And I can guarantee you no one will ever match fix again if it involves a Valve game. Because they know...
I disagree with that. I think nobody will ever match fix again in such a stupid manner.
Well, yeah. You can put a little bit more effort into it.
Yeah.
But just know that this is now the bar. If you get caught match fixing, if you get caught cheating like this, it's going to result in a lifetime ban, and they probably, looking at other professional sports, could have probably figured the same. So that's really all I have to say on the situation. It sucks to suck, but that's life. Shit happens. And
be stupid.
That's really the underlining matter there. Don't be dumb, dude. Just play the game and I feel terrible for it, but man, you knew. You had to have known.
Yeah, their situation, especially back in those days too, we didn't really get into it, but being on iBUYPOWER, they weren't making money playing the games at the time, and I'm sure they were thinking, oh man, we should probably get some money out of this, but if you morally know something is wrong, the rule to live by is
your red flag.
If you're going to feel like crap when somebody finds something out, maybe you shouldn't be doing it. Just don't do it.
that should have been the red flag when they thought, guys, are we kind of dicks for doing this? That should have been when they stopped and said, no, we're not doing this. We're going to win this match and be done with it. Or better yet, just play. And if they lost, no one would have really have cared then. But that's really all I have to say about it. Don't be dumb. Sucks to suck. I'm sorry, but lifetime ban it is. Let's move on to the micro, though. I do have one thing to contribute this week. It seems like you have the bigger load there, but Dota 2, we now know who is going to participate in the Dota 2 Shanghai Major, which takes place March 2nd through the 6th. So coming up here in just a couple of months here, $3 million will be the prize pool. The invited teams, of course, were OG, which is previously Monkey Business, Evil Genius, of course, Team Secret, eHome, CDEC Gaming, CDEC, however you want to say that, VC Gaming, and Virtus Pro and Alliance. So those are teams that we always knew were going there. The qualifiers just wrapped up, though, over the weekend. And you had guys like Team Liquid, Team Spirit, they qualified for Europe. Representing the Americas, which will be Team Archon and Complexity. You have Southeast Asia, which was Fnatic MVP, and China, LGD Gaming, and Newbie. So that is a giant tournament.
Yeah, all the names are pretty familiar, though, yeah.
Yeah, they're all familiar names. There's really no big surprise there, but damn, that's going to be a long tournament.
That's a weekend and a couple days, it sounds
That
like.
is, they're going to need all 4 days when it comes to eliminating all those teams.
So, on to my contribution. Esports ESPN has an official Twitter account now.
So is this Activision Blizzard?
No, Esports ESPN.
Well, I thought Activision Blizzard was going to be the esports.
They're going to be the ESPN of esports. This is the esports of ESPN.
Oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, they're a little backwards. Yeah.
Okay.
No, so they apply or put out a job posting for an esports editor, and I'm sure all this account is going to be for is spamming the crap out of their written content. And retweeting people until it has like 15,000 followers. Like, actually, I'm curious. Like, as of this recording, this account has 2 tweets and brutal.
Wait, let me guess. Followers? How long has it been up?
Hold on.
I'm gonna say. Ooh, see, you said brutal, and I don't know what that means. 230.
I had the wrong account. So.
Oh, okay.
So be careful. All right. Esports_ESPN, not the real account. ESPN_esports, the real account.
Okay.
So I went to the not real one, and it literally says Electronic Sports Parody Network. Clever. Not the real one. All right. Guess the current Twitter followers for the actual ESPN account.
6,300.
That's actually only at 175.
175 followers?
Yeah, it's 2 days old, no tweets.
Oh, okay. All right. I gave it too much credit for being part of the man.
Yeah.
So there we go. Can we finally put an end to the argument of who's going to be the ESPN of esports? And
ESPN
it's going to be
the ESPN of esports. Yes.
Like, all it takes is for them to sign the check, and it's going to be ESPN is going to take that crown.
Yep. I can't believe they haven't done more other than just, I mean, I'm sure you have to plan in a large company like ESPN.
Well, back in the day around like 2005 and everything, people forget this. ESPN did have a section on their website for MLG. They did. When Final Boss and Straight Rippin' and everything were big in Halo, ESPN had a section for MLG that very slowly, but they had news stories and they would cover the latest MLG tournaments. So it's not like this is a completely fresh idea for ESPN. They've always had someone there interested in this, and I'm sure just now they're trying to treat it a little bit more professional.
Anyway, so
what else?
On to another topic. Heroes Rising tournament, which was the crowd-funded Heroes of the Storm tournament that happened it was
on Kickstarter.
Yeah, it was on Kickstarter. Yep. It needed $5,000 on Kickstarter to guarantee funding. They ended up raising actually significantly more than that. The tournament ended up happening at the Esports Arena in Southern California. Bob Ross fan club who got invited through the online qualifier, lost to Cloud9 in the quarterfinals, and then won their way back through the losers bracket to defeat Cloud9 3-2 to win it. Not a particularly, I mean, the tournament was okay. I know you had some opinions on the casting.
I thought it was for a crowd-funded tournament. I thought it was really good. They had some big name teams. I mean, like you just said, Cloud9 was there. They were dethroned. They had big name teams. The setup was nice.
That esports arena place is actually pretty decent.
It was a little goofy. It was a little lax setup. They read haikus in between that they dedicated to a certain amount of donators if they contributed enough money. So
the finals was good. The finals was Bob Ross fan club, Cloud9, and then Tempo Storm, and then Team Blaze. One other thing, Daily Dot released a story. What was it? Yesterday? Yeah, released a story yesterday that Battlefly, one of the many online tournament organization websites where you can make your own brackets and all that super fun stuff, got hacked, and 90,000 users' personal data was leaked by the same person that allegedly was behind the hack of allwomenstalk.com, which I had no idea.
The allwomenstalk.com hack.
Yeah, I have no idea what that's all about, but Daily Dot found it important enough to put in the news story. I actually talked to a gentleman that works for Battlefly very, very briefly, as in 2 lines of chat. And he said it is a beatdown to be working for Battlefly right now.
I guess I don't even know how you handle that situation.
He's like, he said they sent out an email to all the users like, hey, our bad. Claimed, unnamed source said, the security was good enough. I mean, or the security measures were there, but I guess they weren't good enough to stop. I'm going to tweet it to the hacker guy and be like, why did you decide on Battlefly? Like, what?
Probably because he saw that it was a big enough crowd and it was easy to hack.
Yeah, so that happened. I mean, it wasn't an incredibly exciting situation, or it's still going, and they're going to have to earn people's trust back now at this point. It sucks to see it happen to somebody, especially a company that was trying to do something, because now there's so many other options out there that it's going to be hard to recover.
In esports, you really only get 1, maybe 2 chances if you're lucky to recover from a hit, because you're right. There's a million other ways. There's a million crazy hole-in-the-wall websites that does the same exact thing that you do, and they're just waiting for their little piece of the pie.
Yep.
All right. That's going to do it for today's episode. Episode 15 of The Center Ring is done and over with. We sure enjoy doing it, and we hope you surely enjoyed listening. Again, we are on YouTube now, so there's no pretty video of our faces, but you get the gist. It's basically the same thing as the podcast, just on YouTube. Some people like going to YouTube. I don't know. So please go there and check it out. But if you really wanted to know everything that we're on, we have iTunes, we have Stitches, YouTube, soon to be on Twitch. Basically anything that you can get audio from, we're on it. Go to our website, though, to look at all that. It's tcr.gg, and check out all the sources there. You can check us out on Twitter at The Center Ring. My Twitter handle is at Pirate Mushroom. Yours is
at Brand Inew, ININEW.
So there you go. Check us all out on all of our outsources there. Check us out on the website. If you have any questions, feel free to holla at us. Until then, this episode will be up, and then the YouTube channel will have it soon thereafter. Until then, keep it real, and we'll see you next time.